Yo, today we have another newsletter, and this is called Long Term Goals versus Short Term Goals. The differences and how to use them together. And I'm realizing now that I'm starting to trail back quite far because we are in April, and this was written on the December the 13th of 2023. And I need to kind of find a way to get closer to this date because I'm looking at things that are months ago. But this is going to be an interesting topic, and I did upload a video. Well, my last video I uploaded. Make sure to check it out. It goes over the personal goal exercises, which is something very insightful and very personal to me, and it very much relates to this topic. So I think it's a very good video to follow up with. Setting goals is an important thing that all people should do. When you are passionate about achieving something, you set a goal to achieve it and figure out ways to work towards that goal. A long term goal is something that you spend months, years, and decades working towards. It can be classified as your final stop before making more after achieving it. A short term goal is something that can be completed anywhere less than a day to a year. This is a goal that you would achieve to help you accomplish your longer term goals and purpose. There are two separate ways, there are two separate types of goals that can be effective when you use them together. Now, the definitions of short term goals and long term goals are very subjective in a way that you really define what's short to you and what's long to you. But let's just agree that a day to a year, it can be that range for someone who's thinking that that could be a short term goal for him. And a long term goal is something that's really more difficult, something hard, very difficult to achieve that would take longer than a year's time. And yeah, I still agree with the sentiment that it's very essential for you to have goals in your life so that you have things that you can work towards, so that you know that you can occupy your time at some point during the year to work towards something that you find and deem valuable. If you have a passion and if you have a passion and it's something you want to work to, if you want something you want to work on for a long time, years or decades, it is important to create long-term goals that can help you have things to work towards that can benefit your pursuit of enjoying your passion and fulfilling your purpose. Yeah, and I think it's a great way to almost define your passion and almost a pave a construct a path. I was going to say pave a way for your passion so that you can achieve it to its fullest extent in your eyes. And goals can be a great way to kind of direct your journey in that way. Build measurable targets and try to keep some of them on the objective side so that you can clearly see that you have accomplished them. And when I say measurable and objective, I mean like have a way to track your goal and also include, I don't know if I include it here, but have something that measures it with time as well. So for example, you want to read, I've mentioned this example before on my Quora, but if you want to read Atomic Habits, for example, just any book, Atomic Habits, and instead of just saying, I want to finish this book, be a little bit more measurable about how you're going to do it, a bit more specific and a bit more time bound. So following the SMART criteria. So you would say that I want to read 10 pages in the next 4 weeks, and every week I'm a do a checkup and see how much I've done. That's a very measurable and time bound approach to things, and very specific. This is not something that you will achieve overnight. So be realistic about your future self when creating your long term goals. Yeah, so one thing I learned when I was doing my personal goal exercises was being very considerate of myself in the future and not trying to overload or overwork myself in the future. So consider yourself, if this is a goal you set for, yeah, give yourself 8 months. Think about yourself 6 months from now. Will you have the capacity to deal with it whether it's your time and your resources. And you need to consider yourself in that way. So make sure that you're having the end in mind as you're creating these goals. Think about how you would look or feel in 2, 5, or 20 years from now. Would you want to be doing that then? What would you want to be? What would you want to be doing then? Okay, I messed up. How would you want yourself to be, believe in, and act? These are some questions that you should ask yourself when planning your long-term goals. And long-term goals in this remark refers to, how I said 2 to 5 to 20 years. Ask yourself those questions now, and then you can craft those goals. And they are not set in stone. You can change them as you develop and grow as a man or a woman. You can shift that around. The great thing about this process is that you're not stuck to your goals. You can change and adapt to your current circumstances as long as you are responsible about your choices. Don't feel like you'll be stuck for the next 10 years if you don't change, if you feel the need to. So exactly, you can adapt your goals as you adapt with your morality or as you adapt with your values, and your beliefs. It's not something that you write on a rock and you can never remove it. It's you write on a piece of paper. If you don't like it, rip it off and chuck it in the bin, and then rewrite them. Once you create long-term targets, a great tool to use to make the process simpler and keep in mind on the present moment is short-term goals. Okay, I messed up the whole reading segment, but what I was trying to say is that a great way to break down long-term goals is to use short-term goals, and that can be a way to kind of make long-term goals seem more achievable, because you are setting more short tasks that you can achieve now. These goals are a way to break down your big targets into actionable steps you can take daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly towards your long-term goals. It is a simple way to keep you focused on what is in front of you while staying in the direction of your end goal. Like driving, you use navigation to tell you your destination, but you focus on the road ahead of you, so you don't crash. And at the same time, you have in mind the end destination. I'm messing up the whole reading bit, but yeah, that's a very important thing to keep in mind and be aware of. That while you're driving, you have the navigation, so you know where you're going. However, you need to keep your eyes ahead of you, so you're aware of your surroundings. And in that way, you know the long-term goal, but have those short-term goals ahead of you so that you stay on track. So creating long-term goals based on your purpose, dream, and passions is a great way to have targets to work towards that will make you happy. And having short-term goals to help you accomplish those long-term goals as you take things day by day is a great way to live your life so that you can be proud of and be happy as you are on your journey. Thanks for reading. So I didn't really get into much depth about how short-term goals really differ from long-term goals, but I really mentioned about how you can use them together to kind of accomplish the things you need to accomplish. The key here, I believe, is that you can use both, and you don't need to limit yourself to using one. You don't need to limit yourself to long-term goals or short-term goals. You can use both together in a way that's congruent and fluent, so you can fluently have a road ahead of you to accomplish what you need to accomplish. And I don't want to keep yapping on about it. I think if there's more that needs to be added on, make sure you put it in the comments. I'll be interested to see what you have to say, but it's a good insight into how you could use both and what are both. Make sure you put in the comments what you think about this entire topic of short-term goals and long-term goals.